What is the role of the change maker in terms of the approaches for architectural design? In the first set of approaches where user experience and analysis is implicit, that the people who are going to use the product, the architectural product, are the ones deciding. Or I think in the following two models, the idea that architectural invention can actually solve problems that perhaps people have, that are an antidote to urbanization, that is an uncontrollable force. So what is the role of the public or the user or the participant in either of your approaches, and how does that connect with our idea of the city or the megacity? Megacity being, in my imagination, the city out of control rather than the large city which is more organically grown.
If I understand the question, I think the users, the actors, who's making the transformation, I think from the perspective of the work that we've been looking at is that we've been trying to analyze the basic existing typologies which kind of suck for socialization, for interaction, and for some sort of really human experience in the city, for the most part. So if we start there, we try to look at how people actually, from a workplace perspective, how do they work really well? So we'll spend a lot of time with different companies just watching how they work, how people interact. So a lot of it is research-based, a lot of it is then it intersects intuition at some point, because at some point you have to bring artistry or intuition to the problem. So if we know that people are stymied by these closed, ossified systems, and then we watch how they work, and it's so beautiful when they're actually interacting, there's sort of socialization, and then we put those two together to deconstruct the building. So it's really through a research process meeting an intuitive process.
What I think is important is to accept as architects and maybe also as developers the unknown and the unexpected. If you want to plead for a city where, say, bottom-up can be rewarded, because I have no clue what you, Carol, will say to me when I'm going to build your house. So that that is, I think, an aspect that so the issue of control is enormous, especially in higher densities. So how to facilitate that is a true question. I like your observation from city to mega city, and then you lose control. That I see actually is quite a positive remark of you. I twist your maybe potential cynicism into some kind of optimism, because but that means also that I have not to look to my buildings from a purely aesthetical point of view. I have to embrace diversity. I have to embrace sometimes ugliness or of IKEA taste environments, and it's under what kind of concept can that be actually exciting? Is your question, or what we could pose, and that is, and can it be part of our language, our architectural language? I think like this Type A project somehow is showing. So I want to make that point, basically, how to accept the unexpected in our environments, how to deal with it, how to even also be aware about it. I know I hate also danger. Don't be worried about it. I also share that with you, and I want to facilitate knowledge in a way to make that possible and to test that basically on smaller and bigger sites.
Yeah, sure. I think that architecture, it's never about only problem solving. It's a discipline who needs, and in a certain way, is a tool to reconstruct the problems that the client is defining at the beginning of your. So basically what we normally do. For sure, just going back to what I've showed, for the vertical forest, in that very case, we have totally constructed by ourselves, the users, and not only the project. So, so the client expectations were totally different, and that's the reason that he was very skeptical. Heinz was Heinz, but a very important American company. So at the beginning, they were seriously skeptical about it. You need to do that. but was extremely difficult, but also extremely interesting how we were step by step convincing him, and at the same time, step by step, selecting the profile of possible users. So.
Yeah, but what I like in your project, Stefano, is that it's insanely beautiful, but on the other hand, with your concept, I can cover any ugly building, any ugly architecture, and I don't see it anymore. So I find that dream amazingly helpful to, in the discussion we are just having, how to have a combination between out of control and under control.
Unfortunately, it's not possible. That's the reason. So we'd love to imagine that this kind of technology could be used everywhere. But you know well that is not so. So I think this is very important to underline. So the real green architecture is something that you want, you have to want and to realize, you have to invest on it. In itself, it's a luxurious addition.
So the next year in your conference, you just turn upside down this poster, and then you have Stefano's vision, basically, as green towers everywhere. So.